Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Dolphin Financial Radio show. My name's Dan Wendell, and today we're going to be talking about how to avoid taxation on IRA withdrawals. Well, not really. I mean, that's part of it, but we're going to be really talking about qualified charitable distributions, or QCDs. And this is a IRS tax qualification that you can use if you're giving to charity that will really save you some tax dollars, and different than you may have already done in the past. So it's going to be an interesting show to have some levity. I'm going to bring in Tony Shore. Tony, it's getting toward the end of the year, so people are thinking about giving money away.
That's true.
Charitable. And I want to talk about how they can avoid taxes by doing it the right way.
We love to minimize that tax burden, and I know that's something you work hard on for your clients, is to make sure that they're minimizing the tax burden. But I want to stop you right there, Dan. You said QCDs, and you had mentioned that in your show notes to me earlier before the show. And when I saw QCDs, of course, I assumed it meant quality cake and donuts.
Quality cake and donuts.
QCDs, yeah, quality cake and donuts. No?
I think that would be a more interesting show. It might be a little more interesting.
It might be a more interesting show. I think any show where we talk about food over finances is a more interesting show. No. People, because you can't buy food without money. So this is more important, right?
Exactly. So if you're going to give donuts and cake to a charity, you can. How do you pay for it? That's what we're going to talk about.
QCDs. There you go. You tied it in. I love it.
Well, as you know, Tony, we've done a lot of shows on IRAs, required minimum distributions. These are, and I'll put the show we've done recently on required minimum distributions. The IRS came out with some new rules about inherited IRAs. So people understand that when they get a certain age, they have to take money out of their IRA. People also know that anytime they take money out of an IRA, it's taxable because you didn't pay tax on it. It's all tax deferred. So they get that. And they say, well, some people say, I don't want to take money out of my IRA. Well, you have to when you get 72. Or I don't, or if you inherit an IRA, you have to take RMDs. I don't want to pay tax on it. I don't need the money. Can I just let it sit there? And so that's one conversation. But at the same time, I want to tie it into this. And that's a different conversation. I want to tie it into giving to charity. Because when you give to charity, you can actually deduct it for tax purposes. But qualified charitable distributions make that a whole lot easier. And what a qualified charitable distribution is giving money to charity through your IRA. So as an example, you might say, I want to give money to charity, and you throw money in the bell, the Salvation Army bell, right? Technically, if you get a receipt, you can write it off. Or if you write a check, if you volunteer and you want to donate $100 to your local food shelter, you write a check for $100. That's giving
you can
charity.
make charitable donations, and I can, on your taxes, you can write it off on your taxes anyway. Why would you bother with the QCD, the qualified charitable distribution?
Excellent question. So you can write off if you itemize your deductions, but a lot of people don't itemize anymore because the standard deduction was raised to like $12,000.
Yep.
So unless you really have a lot, then you would itemize it. So that's one thing. But something even more powerful, Tony, is you don't pay tax on it. Here's an example. So if you said, I want to give $100 to charity, and you took $100 from your IRA, and maybe it's because you have to. You have an RMD, you have to take $100 out anyway. I'm going to give it right to charity. Boom, I'm writing that off. Now I can deduct that from my taxes. However, you had to pay taxes on that $100 you took out, right? Because you have to, and you can deduct it, but eventually you're not going to give everything to charity necessarily. And so you're taking that money, paying the taxes, and then donating and getting a write-off on your taxes if you itemize. But a QCD is you tell the IRA custodian, whoever has the money, cut the check directly to the charity, qualify it, let the IRS know, and then you don't pay taxes on it. You don't pay taxes on that. Just even though it is a distribution from your IRA, doesn't count as income for you.
So a lot of people who reach the age where they have to take distributions from their tax deferred accounts like a traditional IRA or traditional 401k. The government makes them pay taxes on money they take out, but
Yes.
if you have to withdraw it and you don't need it, you can avoid paying taxes on it if you use a QCD and have it directly sent to the charity. So I know a lot of people out there probably still tithe to a church, or some people, and so that could work for a QCD, right? If you
Yeah.
give to a church, because
It's
that's
got to
a
be a
nonprofit.
501c3. It's got to
Yep.
be a qualified charity. So it can't be a private foundation or something like
Right,
that, or
right,
donor advice fund.
right.
But if it's a charity and you're going to give them money anyway,
Yeah.
and
You
you're
might as
pulling
well
money
do it
from an
this way.
IRA,
Rather
if you
than give them money out of your bank account, give them money out of a tax deferred account and use QCDs to avoid paying taxes on that money.
exactly. So you
I
avoid paying
get it.
taxes. The charity gets the same amount of money, but you don't have to pay tax on the money.
Ah,
And it satisfies your RMD. So if you were required to take 5,000 out from
it's a
your RMD
win-win.
this year, and you donate 1,000 from a QCD to charity, now you only have to take 4,000 out and pay tax on 4,000. So that counts as a distribution. You don't pay tax on it, but it counts toward the RMD total.
Good.
So let's go into a few more details here. You have to be 70 and a half. Now, they changed the rules for the RMDs starting at 72, but they didn't change the rules for the QCDs. So that still is 70 and a half.
Oh, so if I'm 65 or 67, I can't do a QCD.
No, you cannot. See, the
okay.
point of the QCD was to, encourage charitable giving when the RMDs kick in. And so the RMDs kicked in at 70 and a half, but, so you can do a QCD without needing an RMD. You could be 71 this year.
Because they didn't change that age when they changed the RMD age. The required minimum distribution age. Yeah.
We just did a show on inheriting an IRA. So if you inherit an IRA at 50, you have to take an RMD. You can't do a charitable.
So I can't use the QCD to satisfy my RMD to avoid tax.
You can if you're over 70 and a half.
But if I'm 50, I can't. If I inherit. Let's say I inherited one right now, I could not do that.
You could not do it because you're not 70 and a half. Now, if you inherit an IRA and you're 70 and a half, you can use a QCD to satisfy the RMD.
Sure.
And from the IRA and the IRS and the 501(c) and C3PO and R2D2. So, okay. So here's the other rule: you have to specify it as a QCD. So when you're talking to the custodian about, or your financial planner about, hey, I'd like to make this charitable contribution, you have to make sure that it's coded properly, so the IRS is notified and it's listed. So when you do your taxes, you could say this was a QCD. You got to make sure it's labeled correctly and it's distributed correctly. So for instance, you can't just say, I'm going to make a charitable contribution for $500. Send me $500 from my IRA. I'm going to, write a check out to the charity. No, you'll get taxed on it. It's got to go direct. It's got to go directly from your IRA to the qualified charity. You can't add it to your bank and then cut a check to the charity. So there's a little bit of, which is why a lot of people don't know about this, or else they would do it. Right. I think a lot of people donate to charity, and they and a lot of people are taking required minimum distributions. They're just not putting the two together and saying,
right,
well, I'm donating to this charity anyway. I give cash, whatever I do. Why not just take the extra step and avoid the taxation and lower my required minimum distribution?
Right. But my question then is, the question is, like you're saying, how do I actually go about doing a qualified charitable distribution or a QCD? I mean, how do I cut a check from my IRA to a charity, or how do I cut a check to a charity from my IRA? Is what I'm asking. Yeah. I mean, I don't even write checks anymore from my own checking account, let alone my checks. IRA.
You're the guy at the cash register at Publix just writing a check for a pack of gum. Oh,
as the line builds up behind me. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And how do you write a check from your IRA? Well, how do you take distributions from your IRA? It's the same thing. So normally what you do, you can't just take a distribution from an IRA. someone's got to keep track of it. So the custodian, whoever holding the money, let's say it's TD Ameritrade, has your money in stocks, and you say, I want that deposit. Maybe you're getting monthly dividend checks, right? You'd have to contact them and say, I want a qualified charitable distribution. You have to say, do this. And you tell them who the charity is.
Without a financial advisor anyway, helping you. I mean, you don't want to make mistakes here, and that you help your clients do this, correct?
Yeah, I do. And so I
part of what you do.
Every year, there's certain clients that say, this is what I'm doing. And we do it. We have a form. They say, here's the charity, name of the charity. Here's the charity's address. Here's how much I want it to go. And boom, I forward that to the custodian and they handle it. The check gets cut directly to them, so you're not going to see it. But when you get your tax documents later, it'll show a qualified charitable distribution if you do it properly.
Yeah.
Which is helpful, right? So yeah, because you're not writing checks from your IRA. Usually it's just directly to your bank account. You have to proactively tell them what to do with it. And all the custodians can do it. They're not going to, and they gladly do it because it's a good thing. So if you ask your advisor, can I do this? And they go, I don't know. Then obviously you got to smack them around and say, hey, come on.
You're with the wrong advisor at that point, right? Yeah.
The key though, Tony, is that QCDs are not counted as income. They're not taxable, even though it's coming out of your IRA. So this is not only you giving to charity, you're going to have more money in your pocket because you're not paying the IRS. Now, nothing against the IRS. Is IRS a 501c3? Can you donate to the IRS and write it off from the IRS? There's a vicious loop.
Who would donate to the IRS? People do, though. People do because they don't, with their taxes, were donating.
Right?
Yeah.
You could always write a check to the IRS for more than you owe. They'll gladly cash it, right? But in reality, you're taking money from an IRA, so you're getting a distribution. It's counting towards your required minimum, and then you're not paying tax on it. So it's a win-win if you're going to give the money to charity.
I'm surprised the government lets that count as part of your required minimum of distribution, because RMDs, the purpose the government set up that and makes you take those is so they can get their tax on that money that they let you grow tax-free. So it's kind of.
I know, and the IRS is big and evil. My mom used to work for the IRS. Don't hold it against me. But at the same time, this country was founded on charitable giving, and that's how we grew. And I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, this is great.
Hopefully the charities are going to be providing some sort of value to the people,
the community,
that will alleviate some of the burden.
Yeah, they give back to the people, so that's good. They help,
right? Which is why it has to be a public charity, not some private foundation that's given to Tony's CD and music collection.
Yeah. You can always donate, by the way, for our listeners. You can donate to that anytime. It's not tax deductible.
It would not be a QCD if you donated to the
it is not tax deductible. No,
it's for the children, he says.
It's for the kids,
his kids.
Yeah.
There is so Tony, and before you go out there and start stroking the big checks from your IRA, $100,000 limit per year.
Oh, yeah.
What that means, you and your wife can give $200,000.
We can.
It has to be within the calendar year, so it's got to be done. You can't say I want to give it for last year.
I got to remind you of something here really quick. Then radio co-host salary.
You've been donating your radio co-host salary to
radio
charity?
Show co-host salary will not give me enough money to donate that amount. So,
there are people that give a lot of money. I got to make a charitable donation.
Right.
I think they missed this one. Even the people that do, I got to write off some taxes, they're itemizing it. You can't give a big chunk and say, I'm going to carry that forward. So you can't give 200,000 and say, well, next year, remember I gave 200 the year before, I was able to write off 100. Remember I got, or you can't say, you can't double count. So you can't write a charitable distribution from your qualified IRA and then also write it off on an itemized tax bill. You can't double dip there. You can only do it from one or the other. But if you said my RMD is $10,000 this year, I'm giving 20 because I'm being generous. So next year I don't have to give anything. I don't have to take from my RMD. No, it doesn't work.
It's not the way it works. Right.
It's got to be calendar year. So I could just see the wheels spinning, like for people saying, wow, if I can give a big windfall this year, then I can not touch my IRA for the next 10. No, it doesn't work that way. But I think, and it doesn't have to be tens of thousands of dollars. You can give $25 to the food bank or the animal shelter.
Yeah.
And just call up and fill out a form or contact your advisor and say, I want to give $25 to the YMCA or whatever, Red Cross, have it come from my IRA. And so it's not like it doesn't have to be big dollar amounts. It doesn't have to satisfy your entire RMD. It could be $25. It could be $100, whatever you want. So I don't think people are familiar with this, and I'm hoping people
they're not fully utilizing it, probably because they're probably donating $100 to something in a year, and they write a check or enter the credit card online from their account, and so they paid taxes on that money rather than use money that's in that tax deferred account and not pay taxes on it.
Right. Again, you have to be 7.5. So we're talking about older people here. But a ton of them give to the local library or the church, and
people are living longer and longer too. I mean,
right.
My mother-in-law is, 87, and she's going strong and pretty much, and she donates to things, and I don't think she's doing that. So she should.
It's a little extra work, but if you have someone helping you and you get into a rhythm, I know the people that are donating every year, and I even have pre-filled out donations to the certain charities they want to know. I know the name and the address. So it's not like it's just them signing and saying, here, this is what I want to give this year. And boom. It's not like it's a lot of work, but it's just an extra step. But I think the reason why people don't do it isn't because it's too much work. It's just they don't know about it. So people like giving money to charity. QCDs are a way to go right to the charity and not pay tax on it. So it's, and it helps satisfies RMDs. Like, this is a win-win, Tony. Why are people not shouting this, ringing the bell? Hey, QCDs, right? QCDs for the poor. I think that would be a better message. So I'm hoping people watch this and think, oh, wow, I didn't even know that. Maybe they'll do it this year.
And if somebody's watching this and they have questions, they can contact you to ask those questions. You'd be happy to walk them through it. But I know that this is something you do for your clients. So I encourage our listeners to give you a call or reach out through the show.
That's right. I help people with this all the time. And it's part of tax planning. Now, remember, I don't do tax.
Dolphin Financial Group does not provide tax advice. See a CPA for tax advice.
I gotta bring my son Jonathan up there just to tell everyone, hey, I do tax planning. That's certified financial planner, includes taxes, but I'm not giving guidance and taxes on how to
You're not
make decisions without talking to a pro. But I have to say that. But again,
you work alongside CPAs and
absolutely
with your client CPAs and you look at the big picture and tell your clients, hey, go to your CPA and tell them this is what you want to do.
Right.
And then your CPA can look at it and
all the time. So I have that conversation. And one of the things I'll say is, are you planning to give money this year, or do you give money? And they say, yeah. And they say, have you ever done a QCD? Well, what's that? There we go. Yeah. And if I haven't said that to you and you're a client watching this, give me a call and say, Dan, you're dropping the ball. I didn't know about this. My clients should not be learning about this through watching this video. But you never know, right? So if you first time hearing it and you want to use it, give me a call. I'd love to hear it. Send us an email. Go online. I'm going to put that up in a minute. But Tony, thanks for a good show. I think we should end it by saying this is a year-end tax strategy. So make sure you're going to do this before the end of the year. And don't wait until December 30th because it takes some time to process these things sometimes. So do it now. Do it now. There's no time like the present.
Do it now.
All right, everyone. Have a great day. And thanks. We'll see you next week.
All matters discussed in today's show are for informational purposes only.
This show is not investment advice.
Dan Riddle nor Dolphin Financial Group are affiliated or endorsed by any government agency.
Investment advisory services are offered through Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida.
Insurance products and services are offered through Dolphin Insurance, Inc.
Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc. and Dolphin Insurance, Inc. are affiliated companies doing businesses as Dolphin Financial Group.
You should talk to someone at Dolphin Financial Group before implementing any of these strategies or ideas.